Imagine the blistering heat of the Sonoran Desert, where silence stretches across endless dunes and rocky ridges, where the land itself feels timeless and unforgiving. Suddenly, the quiet is broken by the distant roar of engines. Dust clouds rise into the air, forming long trails against the horizon. A massive convoy is moving through the desert, a symbol of power, intimidation, and lawlessness. It is the Sinaloa Cartel, one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world, and they are traveling in force. Armored trucks, SUVs with mounted machine guns, heavily armed fighters in masks and tactical vests, all rolling together like a moving fortress across the sand. But what they do not know, hidden in that same desert, is that thousands of United States Marines have been waiting for this moment. 3,200 Marines, armed with advanced weaponry, supported by drones, intelligence, and air cover, have spent days preparing an ambush that will last less than 10 minutes yet change the balance of fear forever. Hello everyone and welcome back to Global Conflict News. Before we dive deeper into this dramatic and intense story, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you never miss our breakdowns of the most important military operations and conflicts shaping the world. This story is one that combines strategy, technology, discipline, and speed in a way that shows how modern militaries can completely overwhelm even the most notorious irregular forces. The clash in the Sonoran Desert between U.S. Marines and the Sinaloa Cartel convoy was not just a firefight, it was a display of planning, precision, and absolute dominance. The summary of the event is straightforward yet shocking in its brevity. A convoy belonging to the Sinaloa Cartel attempted to cross through a smuggling corridor in the Sonoran Desert. Dozens of vehicles carried fighters, weapons, and what was believed to be large shipments of narcotics. The United States had been tracking the movement for days, using drones and satellites. When the convoy entered the pre-selected kill zone, Marines unleashed a devastating ambush. In just 9 minutes, the convoy was annihilated. Vehicles burned, fighters were killed or captured, and not a single Marine lost their life. The cartel, usually feared across Mexico and beyond, suffered one of the most humiliating defeats in its history. To understand the full scope, one must imagine the exterior setting. The Sonoran Desert stretches across parts of Mexico and the southwestern United States. It is vast, empty, and difficult to navigate. For smugglers, it provides cover because it is remote and under-patrolled. For the cartel, this seemed like a safe route to move supplies, weapons, and personnel. The convoy included armored SUVs, modified pickup trucks with steel plating and mounted weapons, and cargo trucks carrying supplies. Dust rose behind them as they pushed forward, the fighters inside confident that no one could challenge their numbers or their firepower. But they were entering a battlefield they did not control. The Marines had set their ambush with precision. Hidden in ridges, valleys, and dried-out riverbeds, armored vehicles lay under camouflage. Sniper teams were positioned with clear lines of sight. Heavy weapons were mounted and ready. Overhead, drones circled silently, their cameras feeding real-time images back to command units on the ground. The Marines had carefully mapped out the terrain, marking exactly where the convoy would be trapped. They had studied patterns, rehearsed the assault, and now they simply waited for the right moment. The contrast between the cartel's loud, visible show of force and the Marines' silent, hidden preparation could not have been greater. Inside the Marines' vehicles, the atmosphere was tense but calm. Radios carried quiet orders. Soldiers checked their rifles and machine guns, adjusted their night vision optics, and waited for the signal. Advanced communications systems kept every unit linked together, ensuring that the ambush would unfold with split-second coordination. Inside the cartel's vehicles, however, the scene was very different. Fighters were crammed shoulder to shoulder, weapons piled on laps, ammunition boxes stacked around them. The interiors of their trucks were makeshift, designed for brute force, not organization. Some trucks carried drugs, others carried fighters, but all were part of a chaotic, uncoordinated force that relied on numbers and intimidation. When the ambush began, performance determined everything. The Marines struck first, with precision-guided munitions launched from drones striking the lead and tail vehicles of the convoy. In an instant, the cartel fighters were trapped. Plumes of smoke and fire rose into the sky as the sound of explosions thundered across the desert. Panic set in almost immediately. Fighters inside the convoy realized their escape routes were blocked, and confusion began to spread. Before they could regroup, Marine fire teams unleashed a storm of bullets and grenades from 3 sides. Machine guns tore into the sides of armored trucks. Sniper teams picked off gunners trying to mount weapons. Anti-armor missiles obliterated the most heavily fortified vehicles. The speed was astonishing. Marines advanced in coordinated waves, their fire disciplined and deadly accurate. Every shot served a purpose. Every movement was controlled. Drone feeds relayed enemy positions in real time, allowing commanders to direct fire and shift units without hesitation. Within minutes, vehicles were burning wrecks, fighters were scattering across the sand, and the convoy's structure completely collapsed. Cartel fighters tried to return fire, but their shots went wild into the desert, unable to pin down Marines who were using the terrain masterfully. By the time they attempted to mount any real resistance, it was already too late. 9 minutes after the first strike, silence returned. The battle was over. What made this possible were the safety measures and planning built into the operation. First, the location had been carefully chosen. Far from towns or villages, deep in the desert, there was no risk to civilians. Second, the Marines' vehicles were designed for survival. MRAPs and Humvees could withstand small arms fire and even explosives, meaning cartel weapons had little chance of inflicting damage. Third, medical teams and evacuation units stood ready in case of Marine casualties, ensuring immediate care if needed. Fourth, air cover provided by drones and nearby aircraft ensured that no reinforcements or escapees could threaten the ambush. Finally, strict rules of engagement ensured that every action was deliberate, every shot accounted for, and collateral damage avoided. The result was an operation where the risk to Marines was minimal and the destruction of the enemy total. The unique aspects of this operation make it stand out even among modern battles. The scale was unprecedented. 3,200 Marines against a criminal convoy is not a routine law enforcement action, it was a full-scale military strike. The speed was equally remarkable. To completely destroy a convoy of this size in less than 10 minutes is almost unheard of. Technology played a defining role. The integration of drones, precision weapons, and real-time communication ensured flawless coordination. The psychological impact was devastating. The Sinaloa Cartel, known worldwide for its brutality and power, was shown to be vulnerable and even helpless in the face of organized military force. And strategically, the message was unmistakable. Criminal groups, no matter how powerful or feared, cannot stand against disciplined and technologically advanced militaries. Of course, such operations come with costs. Deploying thousands of Marines, transporting armored vehicles, maintaining drones in the sky, and using advanced munitions all adds up to millions of dollars. Estimates suggest that this single 9-minute battle could have cost tens of millions when factoring in manpower, logistics, and equipment. But when compared to the billions lost annually to narcotics trafficking, organized crime, and border violence, the cost seems justified. Each destroyed vehicle represented millions in lost assets for the cartel. Each captured shipment disrupted supply chains that would have fueled addiction and violence. Strategically, the cost of the operation was minor compared to the damage inflicted on the enemy's operations. In the aftermath, the scene in the desert was haunting. Black smoke rose from burning vehicles. Ammunition cooked off in fiery bursts as fuel tanks exploded. Scattered weapons and gear lay across the sand. Survivors of the convoy were either captured or fled on foot into the unforgiving desert, where Marines quickly rounded them up. The battlefield that had once been a show of cartel force was now a graveyard of their pride. For the Marines, the operation was a success story that would be studied in military academies. For the cartel, it was a crushing humiliation. For the public, it was a reminder that even the most powerful criminal empires can be shattered in moments. The conclusion of this story is not just about the destruction of one convoy. It is about the lessons it teaches. It shows that in modern conflict, speed, precision, and planning matter more than raw numbers or intimidation. It proves that advanced militaries, when properly coordinated, can dismantle irregular forces with minimal effort. It highlights the importance of intelligence, surveillance, and terrain control. And it demonstrates that the myths of invincibility surrounding criminal groups like the Sinaloa Cartel are exactly that, myths. Ultimately, the 9-minute battle in the Sonoran Desert was not just a clash of weapons. It was a clash of worlds. the disciplined order of a professional military against the chaotic violence of a cartel. The result was inevitable, but the execution was extraordinary. For the Marines, it was a demonstration of their training, technology, and courage. For the cartel, it was a devastating reminder that there are forces they cannot outgun or intimidate. And for the rest of the world, it was a story of how quickly power can change hands when preparation meets opportunity. Thank you for joining us on Global Conflict News. Remember to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses of the most important military operations and conflicts around the globe. Stay informed, stay aware, and stay safe.